I never thought I would be the kind of woman who cheats. Never. If you told me a year ago that I would betray my husband on our own daughter's birthday, I would have called you crazy. But here I am, sitting alone in my car at 2 in the morning, shaking, my mind racing with everything I've just done. It all started with a cake. Josh, my husband, forgot to pick up our daughter Lily's birthday cake. Again. It wasn't the first time he had let me down, but something about this one cut deep. Maybe it was the way he shrugged it off like it wasn't a big deal, or how he said, "Just grab some cupcakes from the store." Cupcakes? For our daughter's 10th birthday? I was furious. I called up my best friend, Emily, to vent, and she told me to come over. "Take a break," she said. "I have wine." So I did. That's where I saw him again, Nathan. Nathan was Emily's older brother. He had just moved back to town after his divorce. I hadn't seen him in years, not since he was the rebellious 20-something who left for California chasing dreams that never quite panned out. But damn, he still had that effortless charm, that cocky smirk that made you feel like you were the only person in the room. We started talking. At first, it was harmless. Complaints about life, catching up, laughing about the dumb things we did in high school. But then the wine flowed a little more, and I started noticing things I shouldn't. The way his fingers brushed mine when he handed me my glass. The way his eyes lingered on my lips. The way my heart pounded when he leaned in just a little too close. I should have left. I should have gone home. But I didn't. I told myself it was just a conversation. Just a moment. Just a little escape from the suffocating routine of my life. But then the rain started pouring outside, and the power flickered off in Emily's apartment. She had gone upstairs to check on her kids, leaving Nathan and me alone in the candlelit living room. And that's when it happened. 1 minute, we were sitting there, his fingers trailing down my arm as we laughed about an old inside joke. The next, his lips were on mine, and I wasn't stopping him. I should have stopped him. I should have thought about Lily. About Josh. About the life I had spent 10 years building. But I didn't. We ended up in his bedroom, tangled in sheets, hands grasping, breathless. It was messy, it was reckless, and it was over far too quickly. And when it was done, reality hit me like a brick to the chest. I had just ruined everything. I left without a word, my clothes barely on, my heart slamming in my chest as I drove back home in the pouring rain. I thought about what I would say if Josh was awake, if he somehow knew just by looking at me. But when I walked in, the house was silent. He was asleep on the couch, the TV still playing some late-night infomercial. Lily's birthday decorations were still up, a few leftover cupcakes on the kitchen counter. And for the first time in my life, I felt like a stranger in my own home. I stood there for a long time, watching my husband sleep, wondering how I could have done this to him, to our family. But then my phone buzzed. It was Nathan. "We need to talk." And that's when I knew, this wasn't over. My phone buzzed in my hand, and my heart clenched so hard it hurt. I stared at the screen, at that short message from Nathan. "We need to talk." I hadn't even processed what to do when I heard Josh's groggy but sharp voice from the couch. "Where were you?" My whole body tensed. I turned around, trying to keep my face neutral. He had sat up now, rubbing his eyes, but his voice, it was too alert. Too suspicious. "What?" I stalled, my mind scrambling for an excuse. "I woke up, and you were gone." He frowned. "Your phone vibrated, and now you're just standing there like you saw a ghost." I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. And then, I grabbed onto the first half-decent lie that came to mind. I was at Emily's. She had a little too much to drink and passed out. I stayed to help with the kids. Josh narrowed his eyes. And you couldn't text me? You were sleeping. I didn't want to wake you. He didn't say anything, just kept looking at me. And in that moment, I felt it, he didn't believe me. Okay, he finally muttered, lying back down, though his eyes stayed on me for a moment longer. It's late. Get some sleep. I exhaled shakily and rushed to the bathroom. Once inside, I locked the door and stared at myself in the mirror. My hair was messy, my lips a little swollen. Jesus, what if he noticed? I quickly deleted Nathan's message, splashed cold water on my face, and forced myself to take deep breaths. It's fine. He bought it. But the next few weeks proved that was a lie. Josh changed. He never confronted me outright, but I could feel it, he suspected something. He started asking more questions. Where I was. Who I was with. Why I was gone so long. He glanced at my phone more often, something he never used to do. And worst of all, he went cold. Not mean. Not angry. Just distant. He stopped kissing me goodbye in the mornings. Stopped looking at me the way he used to. Then, one night, I stepped out of the shower to find him sitting on the bed, staring at his phone. When he spoke, his voice was calm, too calm. Are you sure you were at Emily's that night? My stomach twisted. Yeah. I forced myself to sound casual. He finally looked up at me. Because I talked to her. Ice shot down my spine. I forced myself to keep my expression neutral. And what did she say? She doesn't remember you staying over. And in that moment, I knew, he wasn't just suspicious. He was looking for proof. And if he kept digging, he was going to find it. My pulse pounded in my ears. Josh's eyes were locked onto mine, sharp and calculating, waiting for an answer. I forced a casual shrug, even though my stomach was twisting into knots. She had a lot to drink that night, Josh. She probably doesn't remember. You know how she gets when she's wasted. Josh exhaled slowly, running a hand through his hair. He looked down for a moment, and when he glanced back up, his expression softened just a little. Yeah, maybe. I felt the weight lifting off my chest. He bought it. For now. But just as relief started to settle in, my phone vibrated. Another text. From Nathan. And the worst part? Josh was still holding my phone. I saw the shift in his expression before I even realized what had happened. His eyebrows pulled together, his lips pressed into a thin line. He didn't say a word as his eyes darted across the screen, reading the message. And then, he started typing. I lunged forward, but he pulled back, locking his arm out so I couldn't reach. Josh, what are you doing? My voice cracked with panic. He ignored me, his face completely unreadable as he typed something quickly and hit send. My blood ran cold. What did you just do? My voice was barely above a whisper. He finally looked up at me. His expression was blank, too calm. I told him to come over. The room spun. What? My throat was dry. I told him you were home alone. Told him to come here. He tilted his head slightly. Let's see if he does. My stomach dropped. Josh stood up, setting my phone on the nightstand like he hadn't just sent a text that could ruin my entire life. He stepped closer, his presence looming over me, his voice low and controlled. If you're telling the truth, nothing's gonna happen, right? I opened my mouth, but no words came out. Because we both knew the truth. Nathan would come. And when he did, everything would fall apart. I spun around, grabbing my phone, my hands shaking as I unlocked it to try and delete the message. But it was too late. Delivered. Josh, please. We don't have to do this. He didn't say a word. He just walked over to the bedroom door, opened it, and leaned against the frame, arms crossed. Waiting. Minutes passed like hours. Every noise outside made my skin crawl. My brain was racing, trying to figure out what to do, how to stop this before it got worse. And then, headlights flooded through the window. A car pulled up in the driveway. I sucked in a breath. Oh God, no. Josh smirked, shaking his head like he had just confirmed something he already knew. Wow. He let out a small, bitter laugh. Guess we have company. He turned to me, his expression unreadable, but his eyes were full of something terrifying. He wasn't just angry. He wanted to watch me burn. And as Nathan's footsteps approached the door, I realized I had no way out. The door swung open. Nathan stepped inside, his eyes scanning the room, and the first thing he saw was Josh. He froze. I stood off to the side, my face lowered, shame burning through every inch of my skin. I was on fire with humiliation. No one spoke. The air was so thick with tension it felt like it might snap at any second. And then Josh moved. He walked toward Nathan, slow, deliberate. Well? His voice was low, dangerously calm. What are you doing here? Nathan licked his lips, his usual confidence completely gone. He realized, this was a trap. Ellie said. His eyes flicked to me, desperate for some kind of explanation. But I had none to give. Because there was nothing to explain. Josh's lips curled into something that looked like a smirk, but it wasn't amusement. It was pure rage, disguised as control. And before Nathan could react, Josh grabbed him by the throat. I gasped as Nathan let out a choked sound, his back slamming against the wall, Josh's grip tightening around his neck. Take her, Josh whispered, his voice eerily composed. Take her and get the hell out of my house. Forever. I froze. What? I barely managed to get the word out. Josh didn't look at me. His eyes were locked on Nathan, his fingers still wrapped around his throat. She's yours, isn't she? You both did this. So take her. Get the fuck out. Nathan swallowed hard, his hands shaking as he grabbed Josh's wrists, trying to loosen his grip. Josh, man, listen. Josh shoved him, making him stumble back, finally releasing him. Don't you dare try to explain. He took a step back and, for the first time since this nightmare started, he looked at me. And that's when I knew, this was real. Josh, no. I stepped forward, my voice breaking. Please, I made a mistake. I don't want this. His eyes met mine. And they were empty. A mistake? His laugh was cold, humorless. You didn't look like someone making a mistake when you were texting him. When you were sneaking around behind my back. You knew exactly what you were doing. And now you live with it. I shook my head, scrambling for anything to fix this, but he had already turned away. Lily stays here. The words hit me like a punch to the stomach. What? My voice was barely a whisper, my body moving before my brain caught up. I stepped forward, but he raised a hand, stopping me. You betrayed this family. You betrayed our daughter. I won't let you take her and break her heart the way you broke mine. So you can go. Right now. But Lily stays. My world collapsed. I stared at him, the man who once was my entire life, and realized this was the end. Nathan stood in silence beside me, and I knew he didn't want to be part of this. But now, he was in it, too. Get out. Josh walked to the door and pulled it open. And in that moment, I realized, I had no choice. I was being thrown out of my own life. I stood there, frozen, my whole world crashing down around me. Josh didn't yell. He didn't curse. He didn't throw anything. But somehow, his quiet, controlled rage was worse. Nathan shifted beside me, awkward, unsure of what to do. He hadn't come here for this. And neither had I. But this was my reality now. My eyes burned as I turned to Josh, searching for something, anything, that told me there was still a chance to fix this. But there wasn't. Josh, please. My voice broke. Go. I swallowed hard, looking past him, toward the hallway where Lily's room was. My baby girl. My heart. I wouldn't get to tuck her in tonight. Wouldn't get to see her sleepy smile in the morning. Wouldn't get to pretend, even for one more day, that I hadn't ruined everything. Tears streamed down my face as I finally stepped forward, past Josh, past the life I had shattered. Nathan followed, silent. The door shut behind us. And just like that, it was over. To everyone listening. Mistakes don't just disappear. They don't fade away with time. They sit with you, haunt you, and sometimes, they cost you everything. I never thought I'd be the kind of woman who cheats. But I was. And now? Now, I'm just the woman who lost everything because of it. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Your comments and feedback mean a lot, so let me know what you think. What moments stood out to you the most? How did it make you feel? Stay tuned for more stories. There's a lot more drama, unexpected twists, and emotional moments coming your way. Thanks for listening. See you next time.